The other day I was playing the New York Times mini crossword, and one of the prompts was, with 5 down, rhyming Japanese philosophy of finding beauty in imperfection. The answer was WABI SABI, and I was like, huh? I love home decor and I've never heard of her. And I have imperfect furniture. I mean, look at what my cat did to my couch. Needless to say, this is definitely the aesthetic I want to go for my overall living room. However, we need to start with reupholstering this couch because it is a nightmare. So as you guys can see, this couch needs a lot of love. It's pretty messed up thanks to that little cat over there. This is all scratched up. This is all scratched up. I don't like the sides of it. It's ugly. It needs to be fixed. So I'm gonna reupholster it, and I'm also gonna change the shape of the sides, like the arms, with this foam board, and that's gonna help just make it look prettier. I've been putting this off for a while. I bought the fabric a while ago. Here's the roll of fabric. I just need to tackle this project now, and I've never upholstered a couch before, but let's try it. Step 1, I guess, removing all the pillows. These will help me make my pattern. Oh my gosh, it's so disgusting. I'm gonna have to vacuum in here. Luna, I'm coming in with the vacuum. Woo! She's naked. Okay, so the plan is to be less curvy with the arms. We're gonna make those flat, and then I'm gonna upholster and make everything tight around the frame of the couch so that you can see the legs, so there's no drooping fabric. And then I wanna get rid of the piping because I don't like the way the piping looks and I want it to be nice and minimal. And finally, the fabric needs to be scratch proof so Luna cannot ruin it. That is super, super important. Now that we have a good plan for what we're gonna do, I kind of wanted to do a deeper dive into what WABI SABI means and how I can kind of achieve this look and aesthetic. Another description I found was this: WABI SABI, the Japanese art of impermanence, taken from the Japanese words wabi, which translate to less is more, and sabi, which means attentive melancholy. WABI SABI refers to an awareness of the transient nature of earthly things and corresponding pleasure in the things that bear the mark of this impermanence. So this felt more true to the images I was seeing online for WABI SABI, and I decided that I really like this style and want to transform my living room to fit this sort of aesthetic. So for the couch, I really want to lean into the less is more vibe of the WABI SABI, and so removing these ornamental edges for the arms. I don't like how they protrude out, and then honestly when we're walking around we kind of like run into them a little bit. So just having them flattened out is just a more simple, clean look that I prefer. And so I'm taking out the foam inside here of the protruding part, and then I'm going to be adding on foam to the inner part so that it all ends up being flat. And to be filling in that gap, I'm using this insulation board that I bought, and it's just really easy to cut it to size and then just layer it up so that it fills in that area. So I'm cutting the pieces for each side, and I'm going to add 2 layers of this for both sides. Then I tried to use no nails glue to connect the foam pieces, but it was kind of melting away and eating at the foam, so I definitely don't really recommend this. But I also added some screws in through the foam and then into the plywood, and that seemed to hold pretty well. But I don't have power tools, so I was just doing my best here. Okay, but I do have a staple gun, so I stapled my lining fabric to the side here, and then I started filling it with my polyfill. But we got the inside of the arms done, so now it's time to make the shell. So Luna helped me cut the fabric for the shell, and to make the pattern for this, I just measured the shape that I had created on the arms of the couch. And now it's just a lot of sewing, so I just spent a long time sewing all of this fabric. It seems like it should be quick because it's really simple straight lines, but it's such huge pieces of fabric that the sewing actually took me a really, really long time. Now that the shell fabric is done, I was able to place it onto the couch, and then I ended up just ironing it on here because the shape was correct and it was easier to get it perfect by ironing directly on the couch. And like I said before, we want to see those beautiful legs, so I end up stapling all these pieces down, and I kind of had to get around the legs too, so I just carefully went around, cut some of the fabric, and made sure that it was all nice and tucked in. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't measure this super perfect, so I ended up having these pieces be a little bit short because I didn't account for how thickums I made it with all the poof I added, and so I really had to tug here to make it tight. And I even had to get Christian to help me really tug it, and I had to flip the couch over to really get in there, and even use some nails to just make it really secure. But this ended up making it look really nice and tight, so that was good. This side looks freaking phenomenal. You guys, if you don't hype yourself up, who's gonna do it for you? But pretty much the same situation on this side. Put the shell fabric on, give it a good little iron, get everything in place, and start stapling everything together. And when I'm stapling the fabric, I'm folding it over to have a nice clean edge like you can see here, and then stapling all that down. And I really hope it's obvious from the rest of the video, but I've never done this before and I am not an expert, so do not listen to me. This is just what I did as a beginner ass that does not know what I'm doing. But now I took the biggest piece of the fabric, laid it on top, top, measured it, cut some pieces, and then once again, we are stapling that ish down. And speaking of never doing this before, I had no idea what to do for these edges here so that you wouldn't see anything. So I just added a bunch of these tiny little nails that I have for like hanging art, and I put them all in backwards, and then what I'm doing is I'm twisting the fabric and punching them in to hold everything in place. I hope this is correct. I don't know. It worked for me, so awesome. And I had to just make sure that I was going into the wood correctly, but it seemed to work fine. Taking a break. That's what my couch looks like. It's tiring.
2 hours later.
Then the only way I could really do these sides is just by hand sewing them. So I bought these little curved sewing needles for upholstery, and I just went to town on all these little pieces here. And I should have bought stronger thread for this because this one kept breaking when I pulled really hard. And there are stronger threads for these kind of purposes, but it ended up being okay. Don't! That was so naughty! That was so bad.
I'm working late.
And the next day was all about putting together the cushions. So I took the cushions that we already had, measured them, used the measurements to make patterns, and then I used my French curves, no, not these French curves, these French curves, to make my rounded edges nice and even easily. Then once my pattern pieces are all marked, it's time to cut them out, and I'm just adding some seam allowance while I cut them. I'm not really doing this perfectly, but it is okay because WABI SABI, imperfection. Yes, we love it. Now all that's left to do is sew everything together, and once again, this took forever because there was so much fabric, and then also adding in the zippers took some extra time too, but it's worth it because they'll be easier to clean this way and just like easier to take apart, put back together. So overall happy with the way I decided to do this, but it is all done. And I'm excited to show you guys. So 3, 2, 1. Whoa, so pretty. I really like how this ended up looking, and it totally looks like the vibe that we were going for and that kind of wabi-sabi aesthetic. And you know what? Parts of it aren't perfect, okay? But I think it still looks really nice and definitely better than what we had before. Overall, just a lot cleaner, simpler, and now it's not scratched to death. This fabric did cost $180, so hopefully it is not destroyable by Luna. And the total cost for this restoration was around $200. I got this sniper footage of her here trying to scratch it, and you can see that she is having a really hard time getting her nails in, and she got one kind of stuck, and overall it was not a satisfactory scratching experience for her, which is good because I think she hates scratching it, and so far it's been about a week now that it's been done. She really hasn't been scratching it at all, so I think this fabric is working. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I really hope to see you next time. Bye guys!